Dear venerable sisters and brothers, Dhamma friends, we are going to start the first sermon in our retreat number 287. May everyone take a seat and give the consent with 3 times sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sugato va bhikkhave loke tittamani Sugata Vinayo va tadassa bahujana hitaya bahujana sukhaya lokanukampaya attaya hitaya sukhaya deva manussanang titi. Dear venerable sisters and brothers, Dhamma friends, we all are in a residential retreat. So coming to a retreat like this in the full-time meditation or becoming a monk or nun is a fairly great achievement. Till that we had our own skills to jump over this hurdle. So now we are gathered together under one roof and being monks and nuns and yogis, we try to put our full time into so-called meditation or mindfulness. So what I just wanted to tell was the skill, the know-how we experience so far may or may not be enough to achieve the whole target, the whole idea of becoming a full-time yogi or full-time meditator. So that we have to have new ways, we have to have new methods, we have to have new tactics in order to straighten our view. The Buddha himself says, if someone is wish to straighten our view so that he can go through with the samatha method, that means concentration method, or through the vipassana method, he or she must take care about few things, or he or she should facilitate upon few things, then only we can have our desired objects. That is being discussed in the Anugahita Sutta. There are 5 things the Buddha at the outset explained to us as a group or as an individual. The first and foremost, under this list, the Buddha says, you must have your restraint, discipline. That's a must. That is what I mentioned in the afternoon question and answer session also. Each and everyone observed 8 precepts. That is a minimum base. So upon that only we can have furtherance. So therefore there should have a basic datum line. So if anyone is having any doubt about the discipline one is observing, that will be a distraction for the future. So one must have fair understanding and assurance about the sila. It is called sila anugahita. You must facilitate in each action how much I must take care about the physical and verbal restraint. And the second thing is, we all are fairly learned people. We have a fair amount of book knowledge. And when compared with the few hundred years ago or few decades ago, now we are much better. We have a lot of IT technologies and we are learned and we are fairly above average. So that knowledge is not enough to gain the desired objects of the residential retreat. For that you have to listen to a particular instructions. They are like when the doctor is writing a prescription, you have to take the medicine, meanwhile you have to have the proper dose in the proper intervals. That your knowledge, whatever about on the medicine is not enough. You must know about this particular medicine. Likewise, listening or hearing is called Sutta Anugahita, and that is in the present day context, it appears like very old method because there are a lot of teaching techniques today. But still, all the education, they accept the direct listening is the most effective method even today. Even though we have so much of overhead projectors and distance education and a lot of other methods. But this method is more than 2,600 years old. Still we have the traditional listening. So we have 1 hour daily. Imagine what a kind of a contribution. So we are now taking time. And when other times when we are listening, we may be half-hearted doing other job and this and that. Now it is not the case. Everyone is silent, everyone is absorbing and learning. So it's a kind of a very primitive system, but direct kind of teaching. So therefore this teaching or preaching and listening is a very, very traditional system in Asiatic countries happening. And the first and foremost universities started under such situations. Now there are a lot of new universities and all the kind of thing. But this is the source. We call Sutta Anugahita. And that listening also must be very dedicated one. That's the second. And the third one is the discussion, interviews. And it's very remarkable, there is no other, any religion on the earth that we can discuss upon, we can question upon, we can analyze upon. Any holy script, if you are going to analyze, you will be destined to hell. You have no mercy. You have no rights. But here, the Buddha is very rational. And he claims himself is as omniscient. But still he says, if you are going to accept what I am telling without analyzing, you are not my disciple. You have to take it after analysis. So he is having so much of confidence and lineage up to now. The practitioners, they are talking each other. And it's like a electric arc. It's like a welding lamp. It's like a very live thing. Because we are doing wholeheartedly and discussing each other, not someone's thing, not the past thing, not the future, not the others' things for our own benefit, but we experience and we compare it with our senior members of the discipline, and then we can understand whether we are doing the same, and by discussing, we are enlivening them, we are making more dynamic, pragmatic. So therefore discussions are quite an effective method in meditation, in the spreading of Dhamma. So therefore we have 1 hour discussion. And today itself, many reported very experienced kind of experiences. So that means they have got the basic instructions and they have well digested and they have put them into practice and they are reporting. It's a kind of a humbleness. We are very arrogant. Otherwise we are very, very arrogant. We don't listen carefully. We do not put into practice carefully. And we are not care enough. We are not taking care about reporting back. Never, no communication. And exactly that is what happened between the parents and children today. That is what happened between the teachers and the students today. Doctors and the patients. Kings and the subjects. No one listening. We become so arrogant. But in the discussion, on the other hand, we are just simply telling what we experience according to the instructions given. And it is my duty when I am doing the discussion, if someone is talking about which is not related to practice, I just discourage. I just discourage it. Please talk something you can verify. Otherwise, we can take the whole world into discussion and we will end up with nothing. And in my life, when I started, we used to go to Nilambe, and many are lay people. That for that place, usually monks are not accepted. That's a very good feature. Because ordained people is something, some kind of a lot. Very, very difficult to have an open discussion. We are with so much of fool-headed and very difficult to discuss. So therefore it was labeled Gihi Bhavana Madhyattane. Never allowed the monks to come. If they come, they have to sit among the other lay people. But the discussion was very, very live. But I remember I never asked a question. But I listened. The same question that I wish to ask is being asked by someone. And the discussion is happening and the answer is coming. So I am utterly benefited. I thought that when the foreigners comes and the female comes, their question will be completely different because I am a male, I am a local. I would have been the only local young man at that time. But they are asking the same question. And at last only God didn't say something. Otherwise he don't take part. He just listen. And I found that we are all the members of the same family. We have the same kind of question. And in the discussion we share. We develop kind of a mindful family. And no one is the senior. Everyone is the same. So that is a very good thing in the discussion. But it was quite beneficial for me because I was not at that time a person always asking question, and I do not know how to compile a question, how to ask a question. When I was in Panditarama, there also only one time I asked one question when the Pandita Sayadaw was not there. Because when I am participating in the discussion, I get my treatment. So in the Nissarana Vanaya, when we are living, per week, we have so much of hours for the interviews and the discussion of monastic code and the distance retreats, and so much of, even though we are living in the forest, we know much detail than you living in the village, you living in the town, because we are very connected with the practicing. So discussion is 1/5. With this listening, with this moral precepts or restraint and the listening and discussion only, you become qualified to do a little bit of concentration meditation or sublime meditation. Otherwise you don't know, your mind is a monkey mind. Do not know what to do. So before going to sitting, before going to walking, you must know, this is the discipline I am going to do, this is my primary object, this is the way I advert the mind into the primary object, how quickly I can go to the primary object, how often it is wandering off, daydreaming, fantasizing, and keep on applying. And mindfulness, that is my favorite topic, is working in two ways. One thing is consistently with one object, sustaining on the object, we call concentration meditation. But there's a fifth way of facilitating. Mind is very naughty. It is jumping from object to object. And posture is very difficult to keep more than 15 minutes. and posture is changing, object is changing. So if we are going to say it is a distraction for the meditation, we all are disqualified. But in Vipassana, in insight meditation, how is the mind when it is jumping from one object to the other object? How is the mind when your posture is changing from one to the other? Can there be any bookkeeping? Or are you completely disheartened, telling that your mind is so jumping from the object to object and posture is so quickly changing? But still, the bookkeeping is possible. So that is what you call insight meditation or wisdom training. Let the mind to play hell and just observe, just like this CCTV camera. We are under the surveillance of the CCTV camera and we play very naturally. And if you wish, you can have action replay, slow motion and see how was my performance. That is called distance observation. You become a distance observer on yourself. So this is a very special thing. And no one is happy on that. No one is up to the mark according to their own measurement. But that is a universal truth. I thought I am the most naughtiest person on the earth. I can't explain because my mind is so running up and down. But Venerable Dhammika, when I am talking, I used to tell him, like a friend, everything. It's quite natural. You are a young man. I am also young. So what is wrong? Then I told, there is no meditation as such. I am just observing this monkey mind. Oh, good. Others are not even observing. Others have no bookkeeping. Others are not revealing to someone because they are arrogant. They think it is nothing to explain. This is confidential, private. So don't poke fingers into my psychology. I am not going to tell anything about you. You don't have nothing to tell me about because I am private and confidential. I doubt if we have that kind of an atmosphere, whether this retreat can make any change in your life. Some people are born with that character. But there are some other people, they are ready to happy, ready to discuss, ready to present one's own cross-section of the mind and tell someone for the sake of purification, for the sake of revealing. So that discussion is become very rich if you have insight kind of mindfulness. That means changing object, changing posture, but still the surveillance, the steadfastness of the mindfulness without criticism. And more time you observe, more it becomes diversified. More it become colorful. But hardly anyone appreciating it. People want to have exactly the mind with the object face to face without moving and kind of thing. I think after the death it will happen. So wait and see. If you wish to have that kind of assured behavior, I can kill you, each one of you. But as far as living is a nature. No one is accepting. That is why the Buddha says, after you come to meditation center, after you get the instructions, of course the instructions are common for everyone. Everyone put forth effort and each and everyone is reporting. But for my understanding, many are judgmental. They are not happy to report. Even if you are reporting, it is private and confidential. And they don't think this is the human mind. They don't think it is a mind. No, they wanted to say, I must have the perfect mind. It never happens. Mind is never perfect. That's a bullshit the education did for us. It is that try to put everything in the linear manner from the left to the right, from Sunday morning to the Friday evening. Now our mind is completely crazy because of this present day education. I am very, very related person to the education department. I am talking so much of people, but luckily they are now accepting present day education is utter lost to the humanity, to the civilization, to the human nature. Earlier people, they knew about the climate, they knew about the astrology, they knew about the food, they knew about the people. But now we are learning, when we are learning agriculture, we learn in the Queensland climate. And what is happening in Queensland, how the cows are raised, how the silo is made. We have never seen even. But we have well answered and got the pass marks also. When I go to Queensland only, I came to know what nonsense we learned in the classroom. But this is not. So therefore we have to go back. Whatever the education done, no harm. You can develop the beginner's mind. That's what I mentioned, whether this retreat can make your mind as the beginner's mind is not assured. But there are some humble people, there are some innocent people, they wanted to have the purification, so they have to come back. They have to come back to the beginner's mind and then practice. But the instruction, new set of instructions, practice and just report. Don't be judgmental. Don't be self-critical. Then you will be in a tension. But in you are facilitating your meditation with the precepts or morality or sila and listening and discussion and samatha and vipassana, you will be another newly born child. We can start a new life. So this is the welcome. We are welcoming everyone to be a beginner's mind. So this Anuggahita Sutta is, I am very happy with that. So in this hall itself, we have discussed it 287 times. So today also I took few minutes to get the ground clear. That is what we are doing. But for each and every retreat, we nominate a particular discourse from the basket of discourses. So the discourse is called Sugata Vinaya Sutta. That is what we are going to discuss for this retreat. It is from the Anguttara Nikaya, from the Book of Force. 4 points it is mentioned. The first phrase the Buddha given as an introduction, he says, Sugato abhikkhave loke tittamano sugata vinayova. O monks, as far as the enlightened one, as far as the fortunate one, as far as the well-gone one is in the world, and all his teaching, the Buddha and his Dhamma, or teaching, it will be good for many. Bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya. It's a comfortable thing. Make the world comfortable place for many. Lokanukampaya. It's a kind of a compassion, because all the people is in a boiling position, tension, frustration. But this is a kind of a compassion. We are try to understand who the Buddha is, what is the Dhamma is. That understanding you do personally, but it's invariably helping many. It's a kind of a compassion for many, because you are not harming anything. Best first do no harm. So as far as you are dealing with Buddha, as far as you are dealing with his teaching, you are not harming anyone. So people wait people to come and do this help and that help. That is not what the Buddha says. You are not harming anyone. Lokanukampaya, attaya hitaya sukhaya. And it is beneficial for yourself also. As well as it's make comfortability for you, or your comfort zone. You can, whatever you do, you can do it in a relaxed way. No any tension, no any frustration. Even if you start with the tension and frustration, you can see more you are studying about the omniscient one and the fortunate one and the well-gone, Buddha. And teaching about learning about his teaching is giving the calm. Attaya, hitaya, sukaya, deva manusana. It is not limited to the human. Even the celestial beings are being put into peace. So therefore, if you consider the Buddhist world in Sri Lanka, hardly they take time to learn what the Buddha taught. They are very expert on all the other subjects, except Tipitaka. It's a pathetic situation. And before the Buddha Jayanti means 2,500 years after the great demise of the Buddha, that means came in 1956, not a single one is reading what the Buddha is telling, what the Buddha is taught. At that time, even the Tipitaka, the baskets are not available. So government started publishing them. No one is reading. Everyone is reading before the Buddha was born and as a prince, or these stories and that stories and commentaries and sub-commentaries and everything. So when we are learning in the schools as a subject, never we are being taught. They are taught with all the other commentary and sub-commentaries. And a lot of Dhamma talks are there, never based upon what the Buddha taught. But after the Sri Lankan radio station, Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, they reduced that talk into the 1 hour, and some monks thought of based upon one particular sutta. So when I come to Nissarana as a layperson, it was a great thing, each and every talk. The senior monks used to give once a month or sometimes once a week. Everything is quoted with the Tipitaka. So when I had no any understanding about the Pali language, so I went to Venerable Jnanarama. He said, so you just take the book Majjhima Nikaya and just read. I told Bandi, it's a very difficult language. We can't understand. Never mind. Please keep on talking. Don't listen to the commentators. Don't listen to the commentaries. Because it's misleading you. We are not against commentaries because it's a huge, colossal amount of knowledge. But Burma is other way around. And besides Nissarana, everywhere in the Sri Lanka, you are supposed to take the commentaries first and then knowledge the suttas. But in Nissarana, this is, don't worry about the commentaries, you just read. And when I go out, I can see other places people never directly learning what the Buddha is taught. And they are talking about this man, that man, all the kind of commentarial. Never mind, it is no harm, but you have to understand what the Buddha is telling because it is directly dealing with your present moment. Other commentaries are okay, no harm. But why should we go to the commentaries as far as we have the direct source? So therefore, learning what the Buddha taught is the best way to understand who is the Buddha. As well as that's the best way to understand have the well-being. Otherwise you will be just a scholar, learning, but just like a book weaving. No purification. So therefore, in a retreat, taking a particular discourse and learning it, it is not just for the sake of book knowledge, it is not for the sake of theory understanding, it is not for the sake of argumenting. How much we can incorporate into our day-to-day life? Maybe inside the retreat calendar, timetable, or even after you go back to your own place, how much you can do. So that is what the Buddha mentioned. As far as you are learning about the Buddha and his teaching, it is internally and externally for the well-being of you, as well as for the others. So even though it's utterly a private thing, you have to close your eyes and keep the hand upon hand and make body straight and be attentive about the in-breath and out-breath, is completely connected with other human beings. And just imagine, if someone is showing the Buddha image, that indicates the peace. That very line diagram even on the Buddha is an indication of the peace. No, there's no sermon. It's a silent sermon. It is never agitating. So many people take them as water gardens. Buddha images are, you can see images to be sold in the gardening. It's a sign. So when you are sitting and cross your leg and close your eyes, that is a sermon. Not you should have all the thorough Pali understanding and learning all the suttas and give a very brilliant talks. No, you are just collected and calm and quiet. It's a message. You go to Maha in Anuradhapura, you can see the rock, the image of the Buddha. When you go there, it's so live. You can see the image is showing, is internalized, and you look at the sermon is there. So therefore each and every thought moment, each and every mindful thought moment, you are dealing with the rest of the humankind. Because your mind become pure. More it become pure, no communication barriers. Not only you understand what the Buddha is, what the Buddha taught, but you understand the human mind. Don't claim this as my mind. That is what you call Putujana. Putujana means the commoner. He says, this mind is mine, my mind is naughty, my mind is not mindful, my mind is not jumping up and down. Who asked you to take this as my mind? No, it is universal mind. You have access to it. But so as far as you claim this as my mind, you are to suffer. But you have to understand this is a human mind. Lucky enough, I take time from this thought moment to the next thought moment, and then this breath to other breath, this leg left to the right. See the chronological order, how the mind is working. With other people, they have no time. They are so busy. They are engaged in the past and the future, other people and other places. So they say they are burning. They say they are in the tension, they say in the frustration. But for the whole such humanity, you take one single thought moment, be mindful. And it appears like utterly private, it's an utterly personal thing. But the communication takes place telepathic way, and that is what the Buddha is telling. So I just put into simple English, be mindful and mind your own business. Many people say it is very harsh. But they wanted to be mindful and think about others' business. That is not the Buddha is telling. So therefore, as far as your mind is with the Buddha, as far as your mind is with the teaching of the Buddha, you are helping others, you are helping yourself. This has been never taught in our Sunday schools. It's been never taught to us in the Buddhism as a subject. It is never been taught even in the today Pirivan education. Never. They are talking about the enlightening others. That is like a missionary work. But this is not. So therefore this talk what I am delivering presently, may not be applicable to the many. But those who take this correct mindset, those who correct this viewpoint, will take little time to be with the Buddha, to be with the teaching of the Buddha. The best way, simple way is to be mindful. Because all the three make the purity. So, before giving the Satipatthana Sutta, before giving the content, the Buddha says, Sattanang Visuddhya. If you wish to have the purity, be mindful. So therefore, while being mindful, we take the qualities of the Buddha, we take the qualities of Dhamma as a sign of kind of a pivotal point and the benchmark to keep the mind. And therefore, as a guardian meditation, in the Theravada way of Theravada tradition, it says Buddhanusati mettacha maranang asubasati. You have to be with your Buddhanusati, the qualities of the Buddha. The first and foremost is, in this particular sutta, indicate Arahant. It appear like Arahant qualities appear like the enlightened one. But the Upanishad Sayadaw in Burma, he says, Arahant means he's a qualified person. He's a qualified, he's a worthy person to phrase. Why? Because he is pure. He says if you can take copper as a metal, if it is pure, it's very expensive. But if it is mixed, it's not a good conductor. It's a pure gold. It must be pure copper. Whatever may be, when the water becomes pure, it's suitable for anything. So how can we put it to practice? When you say Arahant, the quality of Buddha, if the next thought moment also with the Arahant, and the next thought moments of the Arahant, that means the sequence of thoughts, Arahant, 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 each and every time it becomes mindful and pure. But if the mind is jumping here and there, the past and the future, so that mind has some other interest besides Arahant quality. So therefore you have to restrain yourself. Yes, that is the nature of the mind. What about bring it again back to the Arahant quality? Bring it back to the Buddha's, he's a qualified person. He's a worthy person. So more you keep your attention, your mindfulness, Arahant, you become also a worthy person. You become a qualified person. Because your mind become Buddha. Many people, they don't believe by becoming mindful, by keeping with that particular object, for a split second I become Buddha. They say, no, I am such a criminal, I did so much of bad things, so how can I compare myself with the Buddha? Buddha is yet to happen, and after so much of years, the Mitteya, the Buddha will come. Then you can see who is the Buddha is. Nowadays, no Buddha. So therefore, by meditating, you can't touch the Buddha. Because the more people get the distance, the other people can manipulate your mind. But leave aside their commentators' talks. You just understand the Buddha mind. And that one thing is Arahant. So Arahant is a qualified person. And each one of us, born with that quality, more you become old, more you become naughty, dirty. But the Buddha says, the young children, up to the age 6, will say, very pure. But they have no benefits because they don't know they are pure. But after we committed so much of bad things or kind of thing, and without condemning us, and if you can make again our mind childlike and pure-like, then we can understand when the mind is with mindfulness, when the mind is with Arahant quality, then again it becomes like a childlike, it becomes pure. Then you can feel it. That is what we call verification. That's what you can understand it. You can verify it. It is not just for the sake of next life. It is not for the just sake of merit making. You can feel. So therefore, what the Buddha is asking himself, which is Arahant Samma Sambuddho Vijjācana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisdhamma Sārthi Satta Devamanusthana Buddho Bhagavā. He gives 9 qualities. Each one is not applicable for each and everyone. But if you read the traditional books, it always take Arahant quality. That's the first and foremost. Arahant means whenever your mind becomes pure, your mind becomes Buddha, and relationship starts. As far as you can keep the mind with Arahant quality, as far as you can be mindful on that, that indicates mind is taking some other things more interesting, other things more applicable, and which one you are appreciating. You have your own bearing. You can see, yes, yesterday it was like that, today how much I can take, just keep the chronologically with single object. Not only the Buddha's quality, anything, if you keep on practicing to the single object, that we call mind is adverting into one object, otherwise mind is jumping over or wobbling just like a piece of rigiform put into water. It can't penetrate, taken by the wind this way and that way. So that's the mind we have, or naturally we have. But the moment you take the Buddha quality, I mean the first one, the Arahant quality, and it's applying again and again and again, you can feel it. Of course it is, for a beginner we say, you start, give up everything and close your eyes, sit cross-legged, keep hand upon hand and take wholehearted way to keep Arahant, 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 Arahant. It's a one object. Or you can take in-breath, out-breath. In Thailand they started, instead of the breath they say Buddho, Buddho, and left leg Buddh, right leg Dho. They wanted to connect this mindfulness with the breath and the mindfulness with the Buddha qualities. But the object become important as far as you penetrate into that. Once you penetrated, whatever the object, the individual object loses its character. You are in the present moment. You are in the mindfulness. So therefore, traditional way with the four guardian meditation, we start with Buddhanusati. But in places like Mahasi Center in Burma or in Nissarana, we just say, whatever may be the recurrent object, neutral object, you take it at your pivotal point, take it as your benchmark and apply mind again and again and again and again. Same thing happened. So one day we met in Independence Square for a multi-faith meeting, and a lot of representatives came, and I took 10 minutes for guided meditation. So then I told, it's a nice time, maybe 8:39 morning, everyone please take a seat and try to be with yourself. Either you can say the sitting posture, or you can take in-breath and out-breath, or you can take how the in-breath happens and your body's expansion against your clothings, and when the out-breath happens, a relaxation, the rising and falling also can happen. A few minutes time, we all, it's for a experimental basis, everyone can understand at least one split second you can be with yourself. Then in the discussion, I thought now we are Buddhists are with the Buddha, the Christians are with Jesus Christ, and the Muslims are with Allahu Akbar, and the Zarathustra is with the Zarathustra. You are with your religious master. Whenever you come to the present moment, you are directly connecting to the spiritual master, whoever it may be, never mind. We are sectarian, we say we are Buddhist, and you say you are Christian, you are Muslim, never mind. But we can feel, whenever mind comes to here and now, exactly the same experience. Exactly the same experience. And most unique thing is, you never can explain what is the here and now mind, because it is beyond language. That is something you can verify. So that is we call humanity. And imagine the present day situation. Economically we are completely, utterly desperate. And socially, not only in Sri Lanka, the whole world. And the best thing was, it has been predicted. 20 years before, it was predicted. This is going to happen. This cannot be. This balance cannot be. It's collapsing. Now it is happening. But to be mindful, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But if you are mindful, you are the only person make peace to you as well as for the others. So we just wanted to have this retreat throughout. But the PHI and everyone came told we are doing something wrong. Because it is not allowed. So I wrote to the medical authority, detailed Bande, never mind, I can instruct him. You can have 1/3 of the people have a distance and keep on. Our Karkasabha also not happy. Then I told, we are the only people make an answer for this, the COVID situation and the present day world situation, because we try to be mindful. 2 PHI, 2 came and one person little heard about meditation. He says, as far as you all are meditating, we can't make an objection, but not allowed. But now, soon the COVID gone, then I told, we'll go to the 100 again, because this is the only place make peace. And I read how people come out with the proposal to answer this situation, present economic situation, and no one cite mindfulness. I went to Sustainable Development Goals even in UN. I read the government policies, and there's a vacuum. They are talking and going around and around and around. They never thought it is in here and now. So this statement the Buddha made 2,600 years ago. Mind your own business. Be mindful, and then it's a way of appreciating the qualities of the Buddha. And we'll gradually go into the next one also, the teaching of the Buddha. And then you are the peacemaker and the pacemaker. Not only for you, but to the outside also. But will that idea be ever popular? Never. Never. People wanted to have right around answers without they are getting committed, without verification. That's why we are expecting the foreign experts to come and answer our economic questions, political questions. And their answers completely for their exploitation of the country. Never for the benefit, because they have never heard that the Buddha arose on the earth. They have never heard there's something called Dhamma. Go any subject, learn any bestseller book and read whether the author knew even the Buddha appeared on the earth. No. They give so much of analysis, therefore they are lacking in mindfulness. So nowadays when I am going to read any book, I just see how much he knew whether the Buddha appeared on the earth. They don't know. Our education, our legal system, our banking system, our media, they are never concerned about that. And they come out with so much of ideas. But definitely we can say it is not lasting. So therefore, even though it is not popular, it is in the minority, you have to understand each and every thought moment you are spending either on the Buddha's qualities or Dhamma qualities or your own mindfulness. You are the only person make peace, internal and external. And for that, just imagine, just be critical. What is lacking? Nothing. You have the whole potential. And you have the possibilities. Being that, how much complaints you are making? I can't be mindful due to this and due to that, and we have so much of list. That is utterly we call ignorance. To be mindful, nothing we need. The Buddha himself has given multifarious ways to be mindful, and he says, if this is impossible, try this one. And if it's impossible, try this one. But everything is doing the same thing. So therefore, whether you are contemplating upon the qualities of the Buddha, or you are contemplating of the teaching of the Buddha, or you are contemplating upon the in-breath and out-breath, or you are contemplating upon the left leg and right leg, exactly the same. And when I am discussing with the religious masters, I mean present day, they say, our holy book also say the same. But people wanted to have something external power to come and rescue you. We become slaves. We never consider we are the masters. We never consider we are such an omnipotent, omnipresent capacity, and we have to realize it. So Buddha is telling, no, I can't raise you. I will give you the methodology. You have to keep on practicing. While practicing, you can raise yourself. That is called upliftment. That upliftment happens through verification. The verification method is, today if you give a first try, how many breaths you can observe consequently. Of course it is not up to your mark. And if you give another chance, gradually, slowly, the amount of breaths, consecutive way, then you will see the proportionate to the time you are putting, a number of breaths you can observe increasing. Then you qualified, please listen carefully. When you qualified to see chronological changes of the breath, whenever mind becomes consistent with the breath only, you can see the first breath, second breath, third breath, fourth breath. Then there is a kind of evolution. There is a kind of a change. You can't see that change if you are doing haphazard way. You have to have a consecutively observe it. But our mind is not happy. So therefore you have to restrain yourself. You have to tell, never mind. Mind will jump out, again bring it back, again do it, again and again and again. Then whenever it is becoming consistent, when it becomes sustainable, then the teacher will tell you, now you see breath to breath differences. If I want to explain little bit, at the beginning you can see in-breath version versus out-breath. Because it's two air columns, in-breath inwardly, out-breath outwardly. But in astrology, it may be around, other way around. They sometimes say out-breath is the first. When a baby was born, first happening is the out-breath. So it is called the first. And the second thing is in-breath. So Venerable Jnanaram told, don't put these things into the yogi's mind. They will be thinking about which one is the in-breath and out-breath. Just forget about. Just see. After time, after a while, you can see it is happening consecutively. Then you must be very sharp. Not only the difference between the in-breath and out-breath, you have to see the differences, if possible, in-breath to in-breath. That is why the Buddha, in the Satipatthana Sutta, whenever the in-breath is become long, you know it is a long. After a while, when it becomes short, you know it is short. So there is a second dimension. First you see the in-breath and out-breath. So you can say you see the difference between left leg and the right leg. And when you keep on practicing, when you see, I can see one phase, two phase consecutively with the in-breath, left leg and the right, then you can see, when you keep on practicing, left leg to left leg, how much changes. Right leg to right leg, how much changes. So then your mind gets stuck with, mind gets immediate with the object. Otherwise it will be just wobbling, just going here and there, Because that your mind is not penetrating. For that penetrating, you must facilitate your mind. You must understand, first you have the face-to-face value, and then after a while, consecutively you can be with the same object, amidst of the sounds and the thoughts and the pain. And then you can see their evolution is something, that is what the Buddha first and foremost he told, changing nature. Anicca. Never the same. Our mind is expecting everything to be same. First breath, the second breath, the third breath, the fourth breath. So as far as you have that mindset, you are not happy if it is changing. But if you are learning the Dhamma and be prepared, then you are going with the mindset, going with the prepared mind. The changing is the what you have to look into. It you will never see if you do not go prepared. And Pandita Sayadaw in Burmese, he says, if someone still find meditating and practicing, and still can keep the breath in view with, still if they can't see the changes, it's an utter mistake of the teacher. 100% teacher must be responsible, because he is not taught the particular disciple. Because keeping the view with, keeping the intact is very difficult. But if you go with this permanent, it appears like permanent. If you go in with the impermanent, it appears like impermanent. Is it a brainwashing? Is it the conditioning? So many people can say, it's appear like a brainwash. No, you can try. You can see. And if it is impermanent, what are the consequences? What are the benefits? If you see it as a permanent, what are the benefits? So you have to have a understanding, the basic thing, the first basic tenet of the Buddha is first see things as impermanent. So I would like to add one more point before finishing the sermon today. If you are going to see in-breath to in-breath as permanent, fairly I would say you are a samatha yogi. You are going for concentration. And if you are going to start with changes can happen, that's a better sign, that's a insight, then you have, we can say, you are an insight yogi. But you have no rights. You have no choice. You are predestined. You are predestined. So by your report only teacher can understand, he or she is looking at it with the permanent notion. And whenever something happens, changing, complaining. Teacher says, never mind, you keep on practicing. And if you are with the inside inclinations, he will say, yes, it is changing, but it's not considered as a threat. Never considered as a block. Never considered as a hindrance. So after long time only by reading the interview report, one can understand what a kind of mindset you have gone into the sitting meditation. You have gone into the walking meditation. You have taken your plate of rice and keep on eating. When you become sick, when you become wandering, when you become fantasizing. So if you are put into this acceptance on the changing nature, so this is natural. Your foolishness, your idiotness makes straightforward. The world is pedantic. Nothing must be changed. Everything must be in a lenient system. So always a friction. Whenever mindfulness coupled with inside meditation, you are in a comfort zone all the ways. You are in a least frictional path. Anything can happen. Still you can be mindful. So therefore, more than understanding about the qualities of the Buddha, or that means to Arahant quality, that if you just be bare mindfulness or bare attention, you can keep this open, because the qualities of the Buddha is called Samatha Bhavana, It's called for the concentration and calmness. It's good. But after that you have to go prepared. Things can change. That how much I am ready to be with this changing nature. But today in the interview reports also, someone try to understand, try to write. At the beginning it is very systematic. At the beginning you have a certain amount of samatha, have a certain amount of fixation of the object. After that only you have to be prepared for the changing nature of the same object. So that is usually our lenient mind can't understand. Our left brain can't understand. For that you have to have the right brain assistance. So just imagine the left brain is a male and right brain is female. Whole world is the male-oriented world, male-dominating world. Even the females are the same. They are also very lenient, very, very, how do you call the lenient system. That's why family problems today. But we should have a mother and father both. And father must be lenient, father must be very harsh, but the mother must be motherly. So likewise you have to be motherly in meditation to accept changes, accept metamorphosis, changing from one to the other, shedding off of your old skin and try to be rejuvenated. It is happening. So if you go prepared, if you go with that kind of a mindset, meditation is just a hobby. It is not a task. It is not a regimentation. It is not a hard and fast. So at the beginning, I feel like hard and fast, but you go in, you must be prepared for changing nature. Then you are making the dispensation of the Buddha more dynamic, more vigilant, more diligent, and you yourself can feel it. So therefore it's a kind of a open challenge for each and everyone to incorporate this present moment awareness and try to see through whatever the object it may be. It won't take so much of years. If you have the good mindset, hope today's talk is helpful for you to understand the proper mindset. With that blessings and with that wish, I would like to sum up the talk. Thank you very much for listening.